Okay, we're here at halftime. My guest, Mike Gielen, class of 1985. Mike, how you doing? Why don't you step over there so they can see you? Unless you don't want to be seen, and I understand that too. All right, so I guess my first question is, your dad coached basketball at St. Mark's for a couple hundred years. It seems like he's worked at every play in the area. And you were a basketball player here, and you played at Harvard, and you coached, and you did all that. When did you guys become a soccer family?
I think I married into it. My wife played soccer in college. Her father played soccer and won a national championship at Penn State. Actually played for the U.S. national team.
Wow.
So the boys come by it honestly, but I clearly lost that battle in the house.
Man, I never figured you'd lose that on that.
I know.
So, usually I don't like to have parents on because, you got a parent on something. But I guess when your child is the All-Met Soccer Player of the Year, we'll break that rule for tonight. So congratulations.
Okay. Thank you.
And let's go back a couple years. When Justin was a freshman, your other son, James, you want to talk about that year? That was pretty special, right?
That was unbelievable. I mean, from the way it ended was fantastic. But from a very selfish standpoint, too, as you know, having kids, just the fact that James was here and driving Justin everywhere as a freshman and we didn't have to carpool or anything was probably even better than the soccer season for us.
It's like quitting a part-time job.
That's exactly right.
And particularly with the practices and everything else, the different schedules. And, Sunday night we'd always have our meetings. All right, what do we have? What's Monday? Who's picking them up? Who's dropping them off?
All up on the board.
Oh, it's crazy.
So it was really surreal. I mean, watching kids grow up, and as they were growing up, we were always going to different fields to watch them. And to have them for one season just being on the same field and playing together was fantastic. And then to end the way it did was unbelievable. Coming from where we thought they were going to lose the game, and then to have James score.
Well, to recap, all right, the one son's a senior.
Right.
And Justin's a freshman. They're both playing on the varsity. We were playing Gonzaga. I think we were down 1-0. And then James scores?
James scores with a couple minutes left in the game, sends it into overtime, and Justin scores in overtime, sudden death to win the game. And, both of the boys run off together up in the student section. It was surreal for our parents.
Now, your father, who for years fixture at DeMatha, coached St. Mark's CYO, and a lot of those guys that come over here, and he always comes over and makes cookies for the guys and takes pictures for their senior portrait and does that. He's always been connected. The first thing I thought about was him. And then I said, please tell me you got a picture. He goes, well, I got a picture of James's goal.
Right.
I didn't get one of Justin. I said, well, relax. He's got 3 more years. You'll get that. At least you got the senior, so he's happy about that.
He did get a picture of the two running off together. So I do have that hanging up. So.
Well, that's good. Yeah. So, see, what we have to do is get him up on Twitter or Instagram. We start putting that stuff out.
Yeah. He has just started Facebook. Let's not go too fast.
I've noticed him on Facebook.
Yeah.
Talk about a new part-time job. All right. I know what topics not to bring up with him. But, well, actually, let's talk about your dad a little bit. Now, when you were growing up, did he coach you?
So this is funny. You might not know this story, but I fired him as a coach. 13 years old, we put together a great team in PG County, a bunch of guys who went on to play elsewhere, and I told him I wasn't going to play if he kept coaching because we had a very contentious father-son player-coach relationship. So he got one of his buddies to coach, which I know he did. He told him what to do anyways. He was a figurehead. But
knowing your father, I really find that hard to believe. I think you're making most of that up. But he also coached my son Brian. He played CYO over there. And I think that's why my son became a golfer. But actually, had a great time. He had a great team. Stanley Hodge was on that team. Luke Goings. I think it was Brian Bell. Daniel Bell, who played at McNamara. They had a great team. And then Joe Hunter, who played here at DeMatha, was there. And they went on. They won, pretty much everything that. It was an awesome experience. Now, so did you play CYO? Was he coaching St. Mark's then? Or?
No, Roy Cornelius. If you remember Roy, he was still the coach CYO. So I was playing both. I played Greenbelt and CYO at the same time, and my dad was fired as the coach of the Greenbelt team.
Okay, and then what about your decision to come to DeMatha, or your dad's decision? Was that just always going to happen, or?
No, I think that was more me. I went to Mavs basketball camp growing up for years, and just wanted to test myself and come here. And now,
did you see yourself as being like the next Pete Strickland? Was he your idol growing up?
That was the idea. That was the ceiling, actually.
All right, so you come here, and your freshman year, did you play freshman or JV or?
I was the last man in the depth chart in the school my freshman year. I was third-string point guard on the freshman team, as a matter of fact. And ironically, which most don't remember, I was on varsity soccer that year.
Wow.
So clearly the right decision. I quit soccer and focused on basketball and slowly worked my way
So you're
up.
last man on the freshman team. and you're on the varsity at an early age, and you pick the other sport.
Yeah, smart.
Well, it worked out.
Yep.
Okay. Now, what about your career here at DeMatha? Junior, senior year, pretty good teams. Who else is on that team?
Unbelievable. Yeah, junior year we had. I remember vividly going into my junior year. We had 6 guys mentioned in Street and Smith's All-American list, which is only 5 of them started, and it was Danny Ferry, Carlton Valentine, Drew Comlow, Juan Neal, Quentin Jackson, and then Steve Trax. Steve Trax actually had to come off the bench on that team, which is part of why we won the national championship.
Well, as you go back through many of Morgan's team, they had that. Yeah, actually, one of the guys coaching here and helping coach our freshman, Darryl Green. He didn't start when he was here because the 2 guys in front of him were pros, Keith Bogus and Joe Forte.
Right.
But we beat Pilati in the championship. He hit the big one. Yeah, he wasn't there at the beginning of the game, but he was on the floor at the end of the game and hit the big shot.
Right.
Yeah, we've just always had that guy to come off, be instant offense. So whatever happened to the Ferry guy?
Yeah, he went on and played a little bit somewhere. I can't remember. I think it was a small school in North Carolina.
Yeah, but he was honored the other day, St. John DeMatha.
Yeah.
For all his efforts as an alumnus here, contributing back to the school, and I know that had to be a neat moment, not just for him, but for you. One of your teammates up there, and that's awesome. So you leave here, and where do you go?
I went and played at Harvard, and actually got to play against Danny every year while Mike Spray was coaching down at Duke as well, and we played home and home all 4 years. Okay. Home and home, back and forth, and it was great. And when Duke would come to town, it would clearly be packed in the gym. But it was fun.
Okay, now when you were a freshman at Harvard, anybody else on the team?
Pat Smith, who coached here and was from here, was there. And Bobby Ferry had just left,
right?
And Pat was there, so Pat and I he kind of handed the baton to me to have another DeMatha point guard.
So we get all these point guards over there, but was Timmy Hill the best point guard there? There's another one.
It's a good question.
It's different eras.
Yeah, it's exactly right.
It's hard to judge.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, the basketball worked out well. What about the academic side? First of all, when you were here at DeMatha, what were the teachers maybe that had an impact on you that you remember? Yeah,
Buck Offit was, legendary Buck Offit. It was the first time I ever got into literature. He just made it so much fun. And then Morgan, he didn't just teach me on the court. He taught me in the classroom as well. It was unbelievable. Those two obviously stick out for many of us.
Right. All right. So you go through college up there. What happens? Let's see, when would that have been? So 89.
Got out in 89.
And then what happens?
So if you remember, the Maryland job was up at that point in time. And I remember calling back the end of my senior year, and the job was down to 2 people. It was either going to be Morgan or Gary Williams.
Right.
And it's talk about a testament to the power of Morgan Wooten. He said, well, Mike, I know Gary fairly well. If you want to coach, I can talk to him if he gets the job. And Gary did get the job. And I ran into Gary at a summer league game that summer. I was watching a Kenner League game, and he said, yeah, Morgan called me. Why don't you come by the office next day? I go in expecting an interview. What I got was a description of the job, and he said, do you want it? Mm-hmm. I'd never met me before in my life. And I said, this is kind of strange. He said, well, Morgan called me and said that you'd be good, so that's all it took, really.
Well, you're a DeMatha guy with a Harvard degree.
I guess on paper it looked like I knew what I was talking about.
Not bad. So let me ask you a question then. You play here for Morgan.
Right.
He's got a certain style. Then you go up there and you coach with Gary. He's got a different style. Which one was more like your father when he was coaching you?
He definitely tended towards Gary more than Morgan.
You don't have to answer that. Mike, this is great.
Thanks, guys.
Enjoy the rest of the year. It'll be over soon. Although I understand there's a rumor going around, your son, Justin, is going to go play soccer at Maryland, which is high level, but could be a walk-on situation. He may join the basketball team up there.
He has been talked to about he is not intending to do that. This is the last year he will play basketball. He's going to focus all on soccer and play all around.
What better place to finish out a career?
Be great.
Mike, this is great.
Thanks, Neil.
All right, cheer hard in the second half.
I will.